Okay, great. So let's get into the topic of today. What are we talking about?
First of all, we got new plushies
Oh my
to
God,
cuddle
yeah.
with.
Oh my God.
Um,
I got the dog for Lauren. Lauren got the honeybee for me.
yeah, if you're listening, Keara basically for Valentine's Day got me a jelly cat, a Westie with a rose in his mouth, and his name's Monroe. And then you could say which one you got.
And then Lauren got me this cute queen honeybee. She has a crown and a cape and everything.
She's
And
so cute.
She's so cozy and squishable. So yes, new plushies.
Yes.
Also, Lauren bought me this Patagonia. It's super cute.
Yeah.
From Common
Thrift
Store.
find.
And then Lauren also got this new striped shirt.
Yeah, I got this striped shirt. Oh my God, I got grease on it.
Oh,
I fixed
no.
Keira's microphone right before this, and I got it on my shirt,
Oh,
but it's okay. You
no.
can't really see it.
Okay. Well,
fine.
if
It'll
you
come
want
out.
to see our plushies and see our new thrifted finds, you can go to YouTube at A Couple Queers where the video version is available.
Yay.
Okay. Great.
Okay. Should we get into it? Yeah.
Let's get into it, yeah. I don't know what the fuck we're going to say, but let's just keep going.
Okay.
Today we're going to talk about sex, right? How being on the spectrum affects sex,
Yeah.
right?
And to be clear, like, this affects everyone differently who's on the spectrum. Like,
For sure.
I like to think of the spectrum as a circle. And by spectrum, I'm talking about the autism spectrum. I like to think of it as a circle, and like people land at different parts in the circle. It's not a straight line. It's just everyone's different. Everyone has different experiences. Everyone has different preferences. And so we're just speaking on our preferences, experiences as a autistic couple. And
Yeah.
I, Lauren, also have ADHD. So
Yeah.
we're just going to speak on that. And it makes me nervous to talk about, but I feel like it's really important to share experiences of people who are on the spectrum and for people to
Yeah.
like relate to. Because I feel like it's hard, I don't know about you, but it's hard for me to like kind of relate to societal's view on sex.
For sure. Yeah. And I also think there's just like so much pressure on sex and like so much messaging that I think doesn't necessarily resonate or work for us as a couple.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, not a lot of people talk about like being autistic and like what their sex life might look like because it could be very different from the like neurotypicals sort of sex life, if you will.
Yeah. And so to answer the big question, do autistic people have sex? Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
For
we
sure.
do. And
A lot of people think they don't.
I know.
A lot of people are like, oh, autistic people don't have sex. Like, what do you mean?
I know.
I'm sure there's some people who physically cannot because it's just too much.
Right.
But it's not a blanket statement for all autistic people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like, it's like autistic people can have sex, but there are people who like that don't want to have sex or like they don't care much for it. And that's totally okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Autistic people have sex, and we're going to talk a little bit about how we have sex. Okay. Maybe not like details, but
I think it's important to like share the detail of that sex and the desire for sex can change throughout the relationship.
yeah.
And-
well, first and foremost, in any relationship, no matter whether you're autistic, neurodivergent, or neurotypical,
Yeah.
I think like sex naturally changes throughout a relationship for sure.
Yeah. And for us, I feel like it's really hard to like swallow this, but I believe we both can relate in a way that's like we used to mask
During sex?
and
Oh,
to
100%.
have sex.
Yeah, I had to.
Even when we didn't have the energy or the spoons to have it.
Why don't we start from the beginning? Let's talk about like our early experiences with sex and like how it's changed. Why don't you go first?
Like me coming to awareness of what sex actually means to me took like a long time to unravel because I had to unravel a lot of societal like pressures on it. And what I mean by that is like when I first started having sex, I was like, oh my God, I need to climax every time. I need to make my partner climax every time. And like, if that doesn't happen, then it wasn't sex. And like, I would be so disappointed in myself.
Really?
Because that's what I thought it was. Like, my like logical brain was like, this is it. And if that doesn't happen, then
you failed.
You didn't fully have sex.
Right.
And then as time went on, I realized like sex can just be play. And like you don't necessarily need to climax to have sex. And like after I like realized that, and because that like the climaxing thing comes from, I grew up being taught that sex, you know, is a pee-pee and goes into the
ew.
And then like when the guy finishes, or when the person with the pee-pee finishes, that's the end of it.
Ew.
You know what I mean? That like, not to go into a lot of detail, but like,
but yeah, that's like the societal messaging.
That's what I like thought it was, and I applied that to
our lesbian relationship.
Yeah, and so I had to do a lot of breaking down of how I grew up being taught, and because I grew up in a very religious kind of environment.
Same.
And once I broke that down, that's when I actually started to feel more comfortable like pleasuring myself and pleasuring my partner, and not necessarily like having to climax, and just like practicing present moment awareness. And yeah, I feel like now I'm at the point where the like desire for sex like ebbs and flows, because there's a lot going on in this head up here. So I have to be at a place in my life where I'm not stressed and I'm not anxious and I'm not thinking about a lot of stuff in order for me to have sex. Because if I am in a place where I'm anxious or I'm stressed, like I'm not going to enjoy my time.
There's no way.
No.
That wouldn't even be on my mind if I'm anxious or stressed, which is 99% of the time.
Yeah.
So sex is not on my mind usually.
Yeah.
I don't know like what it is for you guys or what it is for like neurotypical people, but I don't really think of sex a lot.
No, I think of like kissing and like cuddling and like being close together. I think of that a lot, which we do a lot. And that's like really satisfying to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you? What about your journey with the good old SCX?
Thank you so much. Well, I also grew up religious, as you did. I grew up like kind of a little bit sex repulsed, like very much like scared of sex, thought it was disgusting. Like anytime I would see a sex scene or like an intimate scene in the movies, I would like just feel so disgusted. And I think that's part of like my religious conditioning for sure. And maybe also partially the fact that like I just didn't find like hetero sex to be sexy.
Which makes sense.
Which makes sense. Like I was like, ew, like what is that? What are you doing? Oh my God. And then once I realized that I am gay, sex became a lot more intriguing to me, because I was like, oh, like, okay, great. So like I'm allowed to have sex with women. Fuck yeah. And then I definitely like I started to enjoy sex more and like think about sex more once I realized that I'm queer. And realize that I can indeed have sex with women and AFAB people. Before I knew I was autistic, I was very heavily masking. I'm slowly unmasking now, but it's a process.
Yeah, it is.
But when I was like really heavily masking and not aware that I'm autistic, I would mask during sex. With no matter who it was, I would mask during sex. So like it felt more like of a performative thing. And like I learned how to act during sex via whatever media I had consumed.
Yeah, me too.
And I would just basically copy and act like how they did.
Isn't it really weird to like remember when you like first started having sex and then you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Was I actually in the present moment? Like I was just
I don't know.
literally masking so much. But now that do you notice that now since you're unmasked, like you feel everything like 10 times more.
Yeah.
And then like I can get like overstimulated like very quickly.
Same. Yeah. I think that not that I didn't enjoy sex when I was masking. I just think that it wasn't as like full or deep as an experience because I also think that I probably dissociated. There was like an element of like dissociation during sex for me too. And so like learning what sex might look like once I'm not as dissociated and once I am not masking as much is a very interesting journey.
Yeah.
It's very, very, it's scary in a way because you're like, oh my God, like everything I've ever known about sex is like, it feels like a lie. Or like my whole entire sexual personality was fake.
Right.
And like that's weird as fuck. And then learning how like what's my actual sexual personality? Like what do I actually want to do when I'm being intimate with my partner versus what do I think I have to do?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I feel that like especially like going back to the performative sort of thing, like for me it was like performative, but also like I was in my head a lot being like, "Oh my God, are they enjoying this? Am I doing this right?" Like, but like it never, those questions like never changed. I'm like, am I doing something wrong? Like that also kind of replayed in my head a lot. But now since I'm like unmasking and I've been showing myself more empathy and like not being such a perfectionist, which I feel like in the media, sex also is portrayed as like, it's like perfect every time. But no, like that's like the perfect place to like, dare I say, like make mistakes. And I say dare I say because me personally, like I hate making mistakes because I feel like it makes me stand out, and I've been always told not to like stand out because, you know, autism.
I've always had to be perfect.
Like, I feel like it's so normal to like make mistakes when you're in bed.
In my head, you can never make a mistake if everything's consensual. My thing is like,
yes,
a mistake would be to not get consent.
Oh, okay,
like that's
okay,
like the only mistake you can ever make. Like the other stuff is just exploring and playing and like having fun. It's like almost like you revert back to your child self in a way, and that I don't know if that sounds weird, but like you revert back to the self that's not judging yourself. You're just going off of like what your body wants and needs, and you're not in your head. And so in that way, I mean, like you are being childlike, you're playing.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay,
But that is
that.
hard to get. That sort of state of mind is really hard to get into for me.
Yeah, me too. It's really hard for me to like just to even like get to a place of like having sex because of having ADHD and my mind always being on for like 10 thoughts at a fucking time. Like that's like so much. Like if I'm doing something the same for just even a second too long, the thoughts start like pouring in. Like I kind of always have to be busy when I'm having sex.
And by busy, you mean like
I mean, I always have to kind of be like
quicker pace,
switching it up like every few minutes or whatever. Like I can't be doing the same thing consistently for a while or else my thoughts just start pouring in and I start thinking about like what I want for dinner and shit.
Right.
Like, and I don't want to be thinking about that.
Yeah, okay.
Like I could be eating dinner right then and there.
That's a
like,
good, well,
no,
maybe you were eating dinner.
But I noticed that playing music really helps.
That's interesting to know.
Yeah.
That like you've never actually told me that. That like there needs to be variance.
Yeah.
Yeah. In like what we're doing. There needs to be like a lot of variation, like not just one thing. Or not just one thing for too long.
It's different. It's different when I'm pleasuring you versus me getting pleasured.
Okay, and how so?
For me getting pleasured, there needs to be, that's when it has to like change.
Oh, so if you're pleasuring me, then
that's
it doesn't
different
matter.
because I have a lot of sensations going on.
Oh.
Does that make sense? But like when I'm getting pleasured, I'm just like having someone do stuff to me, and I don't want to say like just laying there. Like I'm enjoying it, but I need movement.
Okay, wait. Okay. Can I we don't have to include this, but can I ask, how do you feel about being pleasured right now? Because I know that that's kind of been a like something that you haven't really wanted in a while. Are you still feeling kind of ick about it?
No.
Okay.
I don't know. I just get like irrational fears and shit. So I just have to learn how to get out of my head.
Irrational fears
Yeah.
when you're being pleasured.
Yeah.
Like do you get like intrusive thoughts?
Yeah.
Oh, I get that. Oh, or I've had that before. Yeah. I've had that before.
I get intrusive thoughts.
And then you're like, ugh! And then you just can't.
Yeah. Exactly.
Aw. I'm sorry that you're going through that. And I think that it's going to change. And I think that like that's going to pass. And it's probably just a moment in time. And as you continue to like show your body that you're safe, I think that it'll get better.
Yeah, I think it definitely reflects how my nervous system is regulated at the time.
Yeah, like if your nervous system is dysregulated, like you're probably going to have more intrusive thoughts, and then you're going to be taken out of the moment more.
Exactly. And I notice when there's a lot of change happening, my nervous system's dysregulated, and a lot of change has been happening in the last few months. And I think that's why. And I'm kind of really focusing right now on regulating my nervous system. And I know that means to rest, but I have such a hard time resting and not doing anything.
But maybe it doesn't necessarily mean to rest all the time. Maybe there's just I wonder if there's internal boundaries you can set with your brain and your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm actually working on that right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
You want to elaborate?
I've just been like, whenever I like get a thought that I don't want, that I know is an anxiety, and I know it's like fear of the future or something, I just go, listen, what's happening right now is this. And so I don't need to think about that right now. Mm-hmm. So I've been trying to like work on that. But yeah, I think like nervous system regulation plays a big role in my sex drive.
Yeah, or like sexual satisfaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. There was a period of time where I didn't want to be touched. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, there was a period of time where I didn't want to be touched. I just wanted to do the pleasuring. Mm-hmm. And now I almost feel like our roles have reversed a little bit.
They have.
They've reversed. Yeah.
They have.
Yeah.
I'm slowly getting back there.
But there's no pressure. Like you don't have to, there's no rush and no pressure on that.
Thank you.
Like I think that for neurodivergent people and also for like demand avoidant people.
Oh my God, yeah. We can't plan it.
We can't plan sex, and we can't put any fucking pressure on sex at all.
No.
And if that means we don't have sex for a month, we don't have sex for a month. If that means we don't have sex for 2 months, we don't have sex for 2 months. And we're satisfied with that because it can't come from a place of like feeling forced. Either of us cannot feel forced.
No.
Or like pressured into having sex.
No, we can't.
We can't.
We absolutely can't.
No. It has to be like spur of the moment. Like we're both in the mindset of it.
Yeah. And usually it happens with long foreplay.
Yeah. There has to be long foreplay for sure. Like something like romantic, or maybe something like kissing or making out, or maybe taking a bath together.
Yeah.
Something like that. There has to be like a transitionary activity before we even feel both in the mindset of having sex.
Yeah.
Like the last time we had sex, can I share?
I'm trying to remember what time.
The last time we had sex, we were having a bath together.
Oh, yeah, that was nice.
It was really...
That's what I just thought of.
It was so nice. But that was the transitionary thing. So maybe tip, if you're autistic or neurodivergent and you have trouble transitioning into sex, like try taking a bath.
Yeah.
Try taking a bath with your partner.
Yeah.
Like set the mood, have music on, have candles, make sure the water is nice and warm.
Just relax, calm your nervous systems. Like I said, having a calm nervous system. We had calm nervous systems then.
Yes.
Like, we almost fell asleep right before we had sex, like in the bathtub.
Yeah, because it was like
Don't fall asleep in the bathtub.
No, but it's because it was so relaxing. And I think maybe having like some sort of relaxing activity to do before, and not even to be like, oh, we have to do this in order to have sex.
We didn't plan it.
We did not plan it, but it was really nice.
It was nice.
Yeah.
And also, I've realized a big thing as we uncover our neurodivergencies is not having expectations.
Yeah.
And that could go for like any relationship, not just neurodivergent, but like working on not having expectations, because being autistic and also having ADHD and you being autistic, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like things can change in an instant. Like things, like as soon as things like go like happen, like maybe a little too long, or like something like happens or whatever, like we can get easily overstimulated.
Yeah, that
And
too.
so
That's
then,
also a thing.
Yeah, and like some awareness, and this is a really heavy topic, and trigger warning, letting you pause it or fast forward through this. A lot of AFAB people who are autistic get essayed when they're younger.
Ooh.
And I feel like I have really struggled with having intimate moments and then getting triggered into what I've been through. And that can like happen in an instant. And like that goes with anyone who has had traumatic experiences. Like that can just happen. But I think I really wanted to make that aware, and to know, to let everyone know that like if you have experienced that, like I feel you, and I empathize with you, and to take it easy. Take it easy. If you're having an intimate moment and you get triggered, like prioritize yourself in that moment.
Yeah.
And stop it and leave the situation, and just work on reminding yourself that you're safe in this moment now.
You know how many times over the years that we've been having sex and we've had to just full blown stop because one of us had a
Trigger.
memory or a trigger or something?
Yeah, a lot of times.
It happened a lot.
A lot. And like that's what I mean by not having expectations.
Right.
Because
and the other partner having to be okay with being like, okay, no worries.
yeah.
Like just very like, hey, like we need to make sure we're both on the same page and we both want to be here consensually.
Yes.
And if you are triggered, we're not going to have sex anymore in this moment. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And being okay with that.
Yeah, exactly. And then being like, okay, like, what do you need from me? Do you just want to cuddle? Do you just want to sit next to each other and watch a show? Like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And I think it's really important also knowing that, like, if the other person gets triggered and you had been asking for consent throughout sex, which is also really important. Because like I said, things can change all the time. So it's really important to ask for consent like continually throughout the sexual experience.
Yeah, like check in.
If like you've been doing that and they're consenting and then this happens, to know that, hey, like that this is coming from a like past trauma trigger. And like if you had been getting consent and you had been empathizing and just like being in the moment and stuff, to know that like, yeah, just also be gentle with yourself.
If you're the person that triggered the person.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Accidentally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
think that's really important to stress as well.
Definitely, because like we can get really hard on ourselves and be like, "Oh my god, I literally just triggered my partner."
Like, "Oh my god, I'm a horrible person.
I'm an assaulter. I'm this or that." Like we can easily snowball into that.
Yeah, I think we've both kind of experienced those thoughts, and we've both kind of had to like be like, "Okay, wait. I continually asked for consent. They said yes. This happened. Okay." Now I just need to like make sure like they're okay and know that I'm okay.
Yeah.
And that we're all safe and everything stopped.
It happens.
Which is also consent. When someone's like, I'm triggered, and you just stop. That's protecting their boundaries, which is really important. I think as neurodivergent people, it's also really important to set boundaries during sex. I think this is really hard for me to learn because I come from also a people-pleasing background. It was hard for me to speak up when I like didn't want something anymore. Like say I was enjoying it and then boom, like seconds later, half a second later, like I'm like, oh, like I don't want this anymore. Like, but I think it's important to, first of all, know what you want, what you like, which takes some self-exploration. And then second of all, to really show yourself some love and keep those boundaries and be like, okay, if they get offended by this, like that's on them, not on me. Because I'm protecting my energy and I'm protecting me. And I think that's so important. That's like one of the most important things.
Yeah, I agree.
I know it was heavy, but it's really important to talk about.
Yeah, no, it is. And I've been there. And I think that, like, for me, it almost felt like during when I was, like, kind of healing that in me, it was harder to have sex without interruption because, you know, it was top of mind. I was healing it. And so I think if you're, like, in a healing time period, if something is particularly on the top of your mind, like it's understandable that it's going to affect sex.
Yeah.
And be gentle with yourself throughout, because I feel like I'm actually on the other side of it now where like I am not as triggered with sex. So like when I do have sex, those thoughts aren't coming in as often.
Yeah.
So just know that there also is a other side of this. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, if you will.
Yes, there is. And I think what really helped me with that was slowly integrating, showing myself some love.
And safety. Like
and
really,
safety.
like even if your mind knows it's safe, the body might still think it's not safe.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like the body has to feel safe. And that takes time to, you know, send signals to your body that it's safe.
Yeah. Especially if your body's been in that
fight or flight
for like so long. Like you can't just snap out of it in an instant. Like it's going to take some time.
Yeah,
for
definitely.
Sure. And I think it's really important to show some empathy towards yourself because I have an all or nothing mindset. And I think sometimes if things aren't happening right away, like I get frustrated because of that. And that's an autistic like trait or like shared experience. And I think it's really important to recognize for myself when I'm having an all or nothing mindset and be like, wait, okay, this is my mindset. So I need to realize like, okay, this takes time and like practice, empathizing with myself more.
What do you mean by the all or nothing mindset in terms of sex? Like,
oh, I'm talking about healing. Like when,
like, oh, I have to be healed right away.
Like, yeah, or like
frustrated.
My body is like having this reaction. Okay, well, I need to fix this right away. Like this needs to be fixed like now. And say a month later and I'm like, fuck, like I'm still like this. Like this is really annoying. That's what I mean by that. And it's just to like show more empathy. And that's when we were saying like it takes time to get out of that when you had been in it for a while.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
And no, it takes a lot of courage, and I'm proud of you. And that's on that.
Yeah. Proud of who?
The audience. And you. And me.
Proud of you too.
We've both been through that.
Yeah,
so
we
I think,
have.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just now getting into like a point in my life where everything is starting to click. And that's usually when the drive kicks in gear.
Like because it's so much to do with like what else is going on in your life. Like, you know, if you feel like everything's clicking, everything's going for you, like you're more excited, you're more wanting to play and explore, and you have that free like mental energy because you're not worrying about other things.
Yeah. The last thing that I think that we have enough time for in this episode is I want to talk about how we're both demisexual.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I love that topic.
Yeah. So we both kind of discovered this like when we're in a relationship with each other.
No,
you knew before?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I knew in high school.
Slay.
Well, when I was questioning my sexuality and I was thinking, like I was realizing that I'm queer, my first realization was, oh, I'm demisexual. And then the realization was, oh, I'm queer. Like I like women.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It got mixed up in my head.
I'm also not sure if I'm demisexual with just men or if I'm also demisexual with women because I've had sex with women that I wasn't really close with,
Yeah.
like back in the day. And you know what? It wasn't as fulfilling.
Okay.
I think that I did a lot of like heavily masking sex. So I'm not really sure, but I definitely in high school knew that I was demisexual.
Okay, cool.
Should we describe what that is?
Yeah, I feel like you could probably describe it better than me.
It's only feeling sexual attraction to someone once you have created a really strong bond, emotional bond with them.
Yes. I could like make out with people for sure, but if it came down to like my first like sexual experience that I liked was with you.
Oh.
And like because you're my first time getting with an AFAB person and I was like, "Oh, so this is what dreams are made of."
Aw.
And I feel like you mentioned demisexual to me early in the relationship, and I was like, "What is that?" And I didn't want to look into the research of it. I was like, "I like who I like," blah blah blah. And then later on, I was like, "Oh, that makes so much sense. Like that's totally me."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, interestingly, I do feel like now that I'm unmasking and uncovering my true self, I do think that I am demisexual.
Nice.
It didn't seem like it for a while just because I was like hooking up with random girls for a while. I had like a little hoe phase. And that's okay. And that's great. But I wasn't as into it. Yeah. Unless it was someone that I like felt really strongly emotionally with.
Right. I have to have that too.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it has to do with like there's a shared experience between autistic people is that having like deep conversations, deep connections.
Yeah.
Like I wonder if there's a correlation. I wonder if there's a study or something out there.
Well, that I want to talk about because I also think as autistic people, we value other things over sex.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to talk about too.
At least us, like
our
us.
relationship, like not saying everyone is like this or every autistic person's like this, but our relationship is very much that like we value like quality time and like deep conversation over sex. Like we don't need to have sex all the time in order to feel connected. Like we feel really connected all the time, no matter what. Like no matter if we're having sex, every week or maybe every month, like no matter what, we always feel really closely connected.
We do. We won't even be together and like you'll text me or I'll text you and be like, "How are you feeling today?" And the other person will be like, "I'm anxious," and be like, "I could feel that."
Yeah. We just like, there's things that are higher on the priority list for us over sex.
Yeah, like what I was thinking of when you were just talking there a minute ago was, go out to a good meal while having a really fucking deep conversation.
Yeah.
Like, that's so
sex.
good. That's so sexy.
That's sexy to me. That's sex to me. Like
so sexy.
Us going out to eat, like eating for us is a sexual experience. Like it low key is like not sexual, but as deep as sex.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like us trying new foods, enjoying food together is like really high on the list of like our bonding experiences.
Or like going on a walk together and like yapping. We just yap for days.
We're yappers and like we have a really strong intellectual connection. And I think that's part of like how our relationship is like our intellectual connection is really high.
Yes, it is.
Like our brains are just like zing.
I know. I feel like we're just like we were born of like the same soul.
We think that we have the same soul with different
we have telepathy and shit.
Different life experiences, but like same. I mean, but at the same time, it's like everyone on this planet is connected by the same spirit. The same like energy, right?
Yeah. I guess what I mean by that is like we're soulmates. Like I feel like we just like we're mirrors.
Beyond just this earth, we are soulmates. Like in the other realms, in the spiritual realm, in the invisible realm of spirit, we are also soulmates there.
Yes.
Like we've been soulmates and now
we've been soulmates in like past lives.
yeah, and like this is just the form that it's taking in this specific lifetime. Like I'm Keara and this is Lauren and we're soulmates and we're a lesbian couple, but it's more than that. It's deeper than just that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's really cute.
Cute.
I feel like we should just like end on that. Like that was really cute.
We should end on that. Okay, great. Oh, yay. I hope you guys liked this episode. We're soulmates.
Yeah, so that's like a little dive into our experience with sex and how we experience it, and
as autistic people.
We can keep making, as neurodivergent, like autistic and ADHD people.
We could keep talking about it.
We can make another episode. More. We can have you guys like ask questions and we can answer them.
That's a good idea, actually.
Yeah, and like just like tell more about our experience. I think, like I said in the beginning, I think it's really important to share like people to just share their experiences so that people don't feel alone and people know that they have someone to relate to.
Yeah.
And if you can relate to us, that's awesome. And if you can't, that's awesome. Like, but thanks for joining us today.
Yeah. Thank you for being here and we'll see you soon. Okay. Bye guys. Love you.
Bye. Love you.
You're so cute.